Hello and welcome to the first Q&A of 2016. Now, I've been saying for the last little while that I'm going to do an Australia only Q&A because I record these at night in England, which means it's very early in the morning in Australia, and I understand that people want to ask questions, and if I do them when they're meant to be asleep, then it's quite frustrating. So I've been meaning to for a while, and I asked earlier, I said, here's a hashtag. I heard that it's a good time to do a Q&A in Australia. Let's do it. And apparently it was 1 a.m. So my sources lied to me. That's Marnie and Matilda. So how dare you? However, this will be an Australia only question and answer. But I understand that if you want me to do another one because it was 1 a.m. or whatever on a Sunday, then or on a Monday morning, then that's cool. So let's go. Oh wait, we got to do the music first. Welcome. First question is, when you have chicken, do you prefer breast or thigh? I'm a bit funny with meat on the bone. I love it. Well, I love it. Love's maybe a stretch. I'm a bit funny with meat on the bone. I do really like it, but it's just the kind of tendony stuff puts me off a bit, so I prefer a breast. That was from Marnie, by the way. I don't know this person's name, but she says, do you like pineapples? I love pineapples. They are one of my favourite fruits, and I used to hate them when I was younger, but they're one of my favourite fruits. Bradley says, who have you met who has left you starstruck? A lot of people. I have a lot of respect for a lot of people. One guy that really left me kind of a bit stunned, I guess, will be Jack Stedman from Bombay Bicycle Club, just because they've been like one of my favourite bands for years, you know, since I was 15, maybe. And so that was really cool, and his demeanour, he always comes across as a very kind of, I hope it doesn't sound offensive, but quite an introvert and quite, you know, kind of in his own head. And I've always struggled to talk to people who I respect greatly, just because I want there to be a kind of mutual level of respect, you know, and I'm afraid that because I respect somebody so much, I'll say just stupid shit and they'll hate me. So I kind of got really worried when I met him. I went to a Lucy Rose show, it was at Shepherd's Bush, and Leanne Havas was at the front, and she's a lovely lady, and you know, we've spent a little bit of time together, and we were signed by the same person at Warner Brothers, and she's lovely, and her and Jack get on quite well, I gather. And we were in the foyer, and she was like, Lewis, and she gave me a massive hug, and she was like, Lewis, have you met Jack? And I was like, Leanne, don't, please don't, please don't, please don't. And she had a few red wines, and she was like, Jack, meet Lewis. And I was like, fuck, hello. And I shook his hand, and I said like, I know this is a bit forward and we've just met, but you're like one of my heroes, and I think whatever you touch turns to gold. Please never stop making music. And he was like, oh, thank you, man. Yeah, thank you very much. Really cool. It was a really cool moment, and I was quite starstruck there. So that's from Bradley. Thank you, Bradley. Jess says, I always complain about not being able to participate in Q&As, but now I can't think of anything. That's not a question. I'll find one of yours if you sent one. Till says, do you still sell the Australia tour shirts? I do, yeah. On my website there's an Australia store, and there are Australian t-shirts there. I'm just going to check that actually. Lewis Watson Music, Australia, New Zealand store. Yes, they're there. Band t-shirts, $35. They're still there. It's just at the top of my store. Britt says, what do you love about Australia the most? Sorry, darts is on again downstairs, so if you hear my parents being very loud, that's why. It's amazing. I love how into darts they are, because someone has to be into darts, and I'm glad it's them. What was the question? Right, I love Australia because of a few reasons. The main kind of reason that encompasses all other reasons is that, to me, it's like actually I prefer that line. It's like a better England. I love England. I love the rain. I love that some days are very cold, and I love that very rarely we get, well, I love the hot days that we get very rarely. And I went to Australia expecting it to be this kind of cuckoo land, really weird, completely different, and it's so similar to England. Especially a place like Melbourne is very similar to London. The layout, the buildings, the people, it's very similar to London. Whereas then you go to like Perth and maybe Brisbane, Brizzy, I'm Australian, and it's like, or Bris Vegas, that's another nickname. And it's like completely different. It's then like going to countryside England, and I don't know, I think it's great because it's hotter when it's hot and you still get rain. A very important thing to me is rain. I could never live somewhere that doesn't rain. I love rain. I actually went to LA for like a week and it didn't rain and I missed it. It's a bit weird. But yeah, it's like the people are nicer. They do really good sushi because it's so close to Japan. I don't know if that's a reason, but they do good sushi. The beaches are great. I feel like I'd love to surf one day, and I feel like that's probably the best place, you know, the place where I get the best chance. I don't know, I just really like it. I think it's great. I think it's very great. Rihanna says, please, why do you do this when I'm about to sleep? I'm so sorry, it'll happen again, I promise. Emma Winkler says, hey Lewis, what's your favourite childhood memory? Also, please do another meet and greet when you return to us. Oh, thank you. Favourite childhood, my first childhood memory is we went to Disneyland Paris, and they have like King Arthur's sort of Excalibur in the rock there, you know, fake one, and we did the photos of us trying to pull it out. And I remember I was on my dad's shoulders, and I said to him, he was like, oh, did you get it almost? And I was like, yeah, I could feel it moving in the rock, and I tried to convince him. I was a fucking liar, basically. I tried to convince him that the sword was through the rock, and then there was somebody underneath the rock that it had killed, and I was like, I could feel it moving inside of him, and all of his blood and guts, I could feel it, I almost had it. Basically, I just lied to my dad. That's my earliest memory. Haley says, this isn't a question, I just want to show you how cute my dog is. Look at that. Oh, the little reindeers. Aaron says, hey mate, are you able to give me songwriting advice? I feel like whatever I write is cliched as fuck. Aaron, I have this problem now. I've always had this problem where I write a lyric that to me instantly sounds quite good, quite apt. And then I kind of think about it more and I think, no, everybody said that. I wish I could say that a different way. But there are plenty of ways to say a certain thing, you know. And I think that one thing to note is that if you say something, it's the sentiment of the song that matters, really. And I think that you can say a lot of different things within a song and it still mean the same thing. If you're hung up on a lyric, if you don't like the way that you've said a certain thing, I can't think of an example now. Okay, so this is like an example. For track 1 of my next album, there's a lyric which says, when you're feeling like you're folding, just pretend you're floating on it all. And originally that lyric was, when you're feeling like you're falling, just pretend you're floating on it all. And I think that, like, as a sentence, when you're feeling like you're falling, just pretend you're floating on it all, is quite strong, because the verb to fall and then to float is like, not opposites, but it's like you've fallen and then just pretend is like you are falling and then just pretend that you're floating. You know, it's like mid falling you are convincing yourself that you're okay, you know. And I think that as a sentence it works, but I've used the verb fall a lot in my songs, in my lyrics, and I feel like it's quite a simple term, maybe, and so I wanted to say a similar thing without using the verb falling, and I went back and forth with a lot of things, and I decided that quite a nice verb to describe you know, not feeling okay or being like at war with yourself, which is what I wanted to get from saying that you're falling, was folding. And the thing that was important to me as well is that it began with F, because having that alliteration between falling and floating was something that I really wanted. It made it bouncy and quite nice to the ears. So I was thinking of things that began with F, and folding just seemed to work. It was different. Not many people have said, use the verb folding as a kind of, you know, it's about, and I actually use it again in the album. I've just forgotten about this, folded. I use that again. Oops. But yeah, no, I think that, like, if you feel it's cliche, there are loads of other ways to think of there are loads of other ways to say what you want to say. I feel like definitely concentrate on the lyric, but I feel like you can reach the same sentiment by saying different things. And hey, you know, if that's not what you want to do, some of the most popular songs in history are very cliche, and that's what makes them cliche. So I don't think it's a bad thing being cliche, but if it's not what you want to do, then I feel like there's a way of saying what you want to say differently, basically. But songwriting tips other than that, because I feel like that was just me talking a lot, finish your songs. This is something that I'm trying very hard to do now, but when I first started writing songs, I would write like 50 songs, and 48 of them I would get, you know, to the first, or up to the chorus, or after the first chorus, and just be like, this is pants, I don't like it, I want to move on. And I feel like if you feel quite strongly about that, and if you know, writing the song is really being more of a hindrance to you, then yeah, sure, start again. You know, no harm, no foul. You can use those lyrics, you can use the melodies elsewhere, it's absolutely fine. But if you're on the fence, or you're just like, this song's not for me, finish it. It's part of the practice of songwriting, and I think that it's very easy to just abandon a song, but you learn so much more if you finish it. And who knows, you know, 2 years later you may come back to that song and love it. I wrote a song called Halo, which was on my first album, and as soon as I wrote it, I was just like, it's not for me. I'd written it with a girl called Amy, and I really liked the guitar part, and the lyrics and the sentiment meant a lot to me, but it was something that it just didn't feel right, and I didn't want to sing it to people. That was the thing that, I don't know, maybe because it was so personal, I didn't want to be that self-indulgent when singing a song. Who knows? Anyway, about 2 years later, I listened to it again, and I loved it. You know, and I feel like maybe even Halo is probably the song that's done the most for me. And I feel like it's the song that people enjoy the most. You know, people tell me that song is important to them, and it's, people have said that song has saved them. You know, and it's the thought of, you know, fuck, if I didn't release that song, you know, I don't really want to think about it. That for me is, you know, I went from a song that I would have just deleted, you know, just because of my first impressions, to then it being actually probably one of the most important songs to me. So, you know, finish your songs. And if I'd stopped that song, if I'd stopped writing Halo after the first chorus or before the first chorus, I wouldn't have that now. I wouldn't have that feeling, and you know, people wouldn't be saying to me that how much they love it. And so that is, I don't know, it's it's something that I'm grateful that I finished that song, and I'm grateful that I finished a load of other songs, because honestly every few months I just go and listen back to my songs, and there are gems all over the place, you know, just songs that I'd written and didn't like initially, you know, just it wasn't for me. I come back to, and actually it's pretty good. And you know, if I need to just change the middle eight, or if I need to add a middle eight, or if I need to change the chorus or change a lyric, that's fine. It's just like writing another song, but you've already got, you know, the meat of the song there to help you out. So as for songwriting tips, finish your songs. Always finish your songs. You'll just get better. Hey, if you want to become a better artist, you paint more. If you want to become a better footballer, you play more football. So if you want to become a better songwriter, write songs. I rambled so much on this. I need to end this Q&A. Thank you, Australia. I'll do it again, I promise, and I'll do it at a better time. Let me know when is best for you in the comments below, and I'll do it again. Thank you. See you tomorrow.